Imagine turning on an old computer that most people would have already written off as useless. A machine that struggles to boot modern operating systems, wheezes under the weight of updates, and feels painfully slow the moment you open a web browser. Now imagine that same machine starting up in seconds, feeling responsive, smooth, and surprisingly capable, as if it has been given a second life. That experience is exactly what Puppy Linux is designed to deliver. Puppy Linux is not just another lightweight Linux distribution. It is a philosophy that challenges the idea that new software must always demand newer and more powerful hardware. It proves that efficiency, smart design, and user-focused decisions can squeeze incredible performance out of even the most modest systems. To understand Puppy Linux, you have to step back and think about how most operating systems have evolved over the years. Windows, Mac OS, and even many mainstream Linux distributions have steadily grown heavier. Each new version brings more features, more background services, more graphical effects, and more layers of abstraction. While these additions can be useful, they also mean higher hardware requirements. CPUs need to be faster, RAM needs to be larger, and storage needs to be quicker. This creates a cycle where perfectly functional hardware gets discarded simply because it can no longer keep up with modern software expectations. Puppy Linux exists to break that cycle. Puppy Linux was originally created by Barry Collar with a very clear goal in mind. Build a complete, usable desktop operating system that is extremely small, fast, and flexible. From the very beginning, Puppy was designed to run on systems with very limited resources, including computers with as little as 256 megabytes of RAM or even less in some configurations. Instead of assuming that everyone has the latest hardware, Puppy assumes the opposite. It is built for machines that are old, underpowered, or repurposed, and it treats those limitations as design constraints rather than obstacles. One of the most fascinating aspects of Puppy Linux is how small it is. The entire operating system, including the desktop environment, applications, and system tools, often fits into a few hundred megabytes or less. This is astonishing when you compare it to mainstream operating systems that can easily consume tens of gigabytes. Puppy achieves this by carefully selecting lightweight applications, using efficient compression, and avoiding unnecessary background processes. Every component is chosen with performance and size in mind. Because Puppy Linux is so small, it has a unique ability that sets it apart from many other operating systems. It can load entirely into RAM. When Puppy boots, it can copy the core system files into memory and then run from there. Once loaded, the system no longer needs to constantly access the hard drive or USB stick. This results in incredibly fast performance, even on very slow storage devices. Applications launch almost instantly. The desktop feels snappy, and the overall user experience can feel faster than modern systems running on much more powerful hardware. Running from RAM also has other advantages. Since the operating system is not constantly running to disk, it reduces wear on storage devices, which is especially useful for old hard drives or USB flash drives. It also makes Puppy Linux extremely portable. You can install it on a USB stick, carry it in your pocket, and boot it on almost any compatible computer without touching the existing operating system. This makes Puppy an excellent tool for troubleshooting, data recovery, or simply having a consistent environment wherever you go. Despite its small size and focus on speed, Puppy Linux is not a stripped-down toy operating system. It comes with a surprisingly complete set of applications out of the box. You get a web browser, a file manager, text editors, media players, image viewers, and system utilities. While these applications are usually lightweight alternatives rather than heavy mainstream software, they are more than capable of handling everyday tasks like browsing the web, writing documents, managing files, and playing media. The desktop environment in Puppy Linux is another area where efficiency shines. Instead of using heavy desktop environments like GNOME or KDE by default, Puppy typically uses lightweight window managers such as JWM or OpenBox. These window managers consume very little memory and CPU while still providing a functional and customizable desktop. The interface may look simple compared to flashy modern desktops, but it is clean, responsive, and practical. For users coming from heavier systems, the speed difference is immediately noticeable. Customization is a core strength of Puppy Linux. Even though it is lightweight, it does not lock users into a rigid experience. You can change themes, icons, wallpapers, and window behavior. You can choose different applications, install additional software, or even swap out the window manager if you want. Puppy gives users control without overwhelming them with complexity. Many configuration tools are graphical and designed to be easy to use even for people who are new to Linux. Another defining feature of Puppy Linux is its unique approach to installation and persistence. Puppy can run in what is known as a live mode, where it boots from a USB stick or CD and runs entirely in memory. In this mode, changes can be saved to a special file called a save file or save folder. This file stores your settings, installed applications, and personal data. The next time you boot Puppy, it loads the base system and then applies your saved changes. This layered approach allows Puppy to remain small and flexible while still providing a persistent user experience. This save file system also makes Puppy Linux incredibly forgiving and easy to experiment with. If something goes wrong, you can simply boot without loading the save file, effectively returning to a clean system. You can also create multiple save files for different purposes, such as one for work, one for testing, and one for personal use. This level of flexibility is rare in mainstream operating systems and is one of the reasons Puppy has such a dedicated following. Puppy Linux is not just a single distribution. It is more like a family of related systems. Over the years, many different Puppy variants, often called puplets, have been created. These variants are based on different underlying Linux distributions, such as Ubuntu, Slackware, or Debian. This means you can choose a Puppy that aligns with your preferences or hardware needs. An Ubuntu-based Puppy might give you easier access to Ubuntu repositories, while a Slackware-based Puppy might appeal to users who prefer a more traditional Linux environment. This modular and community-driven approach has helped Puppy Linux stay relevant for a long time. Developers and enthusiasts can create their own versions tailored to specific use cases, such as ultra-old hardware, multimedia work, or educational environments. Even though Puppy Linux itself is lightweight, the ecosystem around it is rich and diverse. One of the most common reasons people turn to Puppy Linux is to revive old PCs. Many computers from the early 2000s or even earlier are completely unusable with modern operating systems. They may have single-core processors, limited RAM, and slow hard drives. Installing Windows or a heavy Linux distribution on such machines often results in frustration. Puppy Linux, on the other hand, can run smoothly on this hardware, making it useful again for basic tasks like web browsing, email, and document editing. Reviving old hardware is not just about saving money. It is also about sustainability. Electronic waste is a growing global problem, and extending the life of existing devices is one way to reduce environmental impact. Puppy Linux contributes to this by making it possible to keep old computers in use instead of sending them to landfills. In schools, community centers, and developing regions, this can make a real difference by providing access to technology that would otherwise be unavailable. Another area where Puppy Linux excels is speed. Even on relatively modern hardware, Puppy can feel astonishingly fast. Boot times are short, applications open quickly, and the system remains responsive even under load. This speed is not achieved through magic, but through careful optimization and minimalism. By avoiding unnecessary background services and heavy graphical effects, Puppy ensures that most of the system's resources are available to the user's applications. Security is another interesting aspect of Puppy Linux. Because it is often run as a live system and can be reset easily, it can be a safer environment for certain tasks. Malware that targets mainstream operating systems is unlikely to affect Puppy, and even if something does go wrong, rebooting without the save file can restore a clean state. Puppy's design encourages experimentation without fear, which is especially valuable for learning and testing. That said, Puppy Linux is not without its challenges. Its lightweight nature means that some modern applications may not be available or may require extra effort to install. Heavy web applications and resource-intensive websites can still be demanding, even on a fast operating system. The interface and workflow may also feel unfamiliar to users who are accustomed to Windows or Mac OS. Puppy is simple, but it is different, and that can require a small learning curve. Community support plays a big role in overcoming these challenges. Puppy Linux has an active and passionate community that shares tutorials, guides, and custom builds. Forums and documentation are filled with practical advice, from choosing the right Puppy variant to optimizing performance on specific hardware. This sense of community is one of Puppy's greatest strengths, as it helps newcomers feel supported rather than overwhelmed. Another important thing to understand about Puppy Linux is its philosophy of user empowerment. Puppy does not hide the system behind layers of abstraction. It encourages users to understand how their system works and to take control of it. Configuration files are accessible, system tools are transparent, and there is a sense that the user is in charge, not the operating system. This makes Puppy an excellent learning platform for people who want to understand Linux at a deeper level without being buried under complexity. Puppy Linux is also incredibly versatile. While it is often associated with old hardware, it is not limited to that role. It can be used as a portable operating system on a USB stick, a rescue system for fixing broken installations, a lightweight desktop for productivity, or even a base for custom projects. Some users run Puppy on modern machines simply because they prefer its speed and simplicity. The experience of using Puppy Linux can be surprisingly refreshing. In a world where software often feels bloated and demanding, Puppy feels focused and efficient. It reminds users that computing does not have to be heavy or slow. Tasks are accomplished quickly, the system stays out of the way, and the hardware feels respected rather than exploited. When you look at Puppy Linux in the broader context of the Linux ecosystem, it occupies a unique and important niche. It demonstrates what is possible when efficiency is prioritized over excess. It challenges assumptions about hardware requirements and shows that thoughtful design can achieve remarkable results. While it may not replace mainstream operating systems for everyone, it offers a compelling alternative for those who value speed, simplicity, and sustainability. For content creators and educators, Puppy Linux is also a powerful example to showcase. It provides a clear narrative about reviving old PCs, reducing e-waste, and rethinking modern software trends. Showing a decades-old computer running smoothly with Puppy Linux is a powerful visual statement that resonates with audiences who are tired of constant upgrades and planned obsolescence. As technology continues to advance, the need for lightweight and efficient solutions may become even more important. Not everyone has access to the latest hardware, and not every task requires cutting-edge resources. Puppy Linux reminds us that there is still value in making software that runs well on what we already have. It proves that innovation is not always about adding more, but sometimes about doing more with less. In the end, Puppy Linux is more than just an ultra-fast, lightweight operating system. It is a statement about choice, efficiency, and respect for both users and hardware. It gives new life to old machines, empowers users to take control of their systems, and challenges the idea that progress must come at the cost of performance and accessibility. Whether you are reviving an old PC, looking for a portable and fast operating system, or simply curious about what Linux can do when stripped down to its essentials, Puppy Linux offers an experience that is both practical and inspiring.